Hey, I think we'll start with some introductions, or just a brief introduction from myself and a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'll hand over to our panel today for this sustainable finance webinar. But just to let you know who I am, my name is Ben Osborne. I'm the postgraduate manager at the University of Sussex, and me and my team organise events on campus and online to help people like yourselves find out more about master's and PhD study at the university. I'm going to be here to put the questions that you may have to our panel, so please do feel free to type any questions in the Q&A or in the chat, and we'll come back to them after the presentations. I'm also here if you've got any questions regarding things like the admissions process or scholarships, and I'm happy to either answer them at the end of the session, or I'll put my email address in the chat box and you can contact me afterwards, and I'm happy to carry on those conversations after the webinar. The webinar is being recorded, so you'll get the recording sent to you tomorrow via Zoom. If you have any issues with that and you don't receive it, you can always contact me directly as well. And as I say, I'll put my email address in the chat. But that's enough from me. I'm going to hand over now to Matthew and Ming-Tsung, and they'll introduce themselves and talk you through today's presentation. So Matthew, I believe you're first, so over to you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Ben, for organizing this. And thank you so much to those of you online joining us from all over the world for being with us today. My name is Matthew Agarwala, and I am the Bennett Professor of Sustainable Finance at the University of Sussex. The Bennett Institute is a brand new £12 million research centre housed at the University of Sussex Business School, where we have some of the world's leading researchers working on issues of finance, sustainability, energy transition, and operations all across the business school. I sit also within the Department of Accounting and Finance, and so today I get the privilege of sharing with you some of the research and teaching that we do in the Department of Accounting and Finance at the University of Sussex Business School. So what I'm going to do is attempt to share my screen. Now, I know that all of you are younger and much more technologically savvy than me. Ben or Ming-Tsung, can you just give me a thumbs up that you can see my screen?
All good, perfect.
So the research and teaching that I'm going to share with you today is something I've been working on with a team of people from all across the UK. In addition to my position here at the University of Sussex, I have simultaneous affiliations as a senior policy fellow at Yale University, as an honorary professor at Scotland's Rural College, as an affiliated researcher at the University of Cambridge, at the University of East Anglia, and the University of Exeter. The reason I tell you this is because it shows just how interconnected we are. We are plugged in with leading researchers doing hard-hitting teaching and research all around the world. The topic I'm going to talk to you today about is climate change and credit ratings, and it's the $200 billion a year question. But before we get into it, just a little bit about what we do at the University of Sussex, where we are number one in the world in development studies. Not just this year, we've been number one in the world for development studies every year for the past 9 years. We are the 7th rated science policy think tank here at the University of Sussex Business School. We are in the top 50 globally for supply chain management, for economics and finance. Inside the UK, we are the number one business school for research income. That means the research and teaching, the topics that academics across our business school are focusing on have generated the most revenue, the most research revenue of any business school in the entire country for 3 years in a row. We are second for career prospects in marketing, and we are a top 20 MBA and a top 20 business and economics business school. And we are located right on the south coast in beautiful Brighton. It's a fantastic location. People love coming here. Now, that's the sales pitch. Here comes the hard stuff, right? This is a taster lecture of what you can expect if you come to us and study and want to deliver a degree at the graduate level, right? The work I'm going to show you today won this year's Financial Times Award for academic research with impact. That is a major global competition and puts the University of Sussex on the map at the top, competing with the Kellogg Business School and the Cited Business School and the Judge Business School at Cambridge. The topic is on sovereign debt and on climate change. So let's go through some quick facts, some fast facts on sovereign debt markets. Okay. One of the first things that I'd like you to know about the world is that public debt, what governments borrow, is actually the world's largest financial asset class. There's around $97 trillion of public debt globally. That means that when we do research and when you're pursuing your degree and thinking about where you're going to work in the real world, you need to understand the importance of public borrowing for economic prospects and for your career prospects. Now, we often think that poor countries are the ones who are saddled with the most debt and the most difficult debt obligations. But actually, public debt is much larger in wealthy economies than it is in the developing economies. That's a surprising fact that most people don't really grasp. The largest debtor nation in the world is the United States. China and India combined don't even make up the US level of debt. But public debt matters for economic prospects, and it matters for sustainability because it is the means through which countries invest in themselves. It is how we pay for infrastructure, airports, railway lines, big machinery for government activity. It's how we pay for the military. It's how we pay for education. It is how we overcome economic shocks. The way that the governments of the world responded to the pandemic was through sovereign debt markets. They borrowed money to provide support to businesses and households. And it is the way that we finance net zero investments, green energy, low carbon infrastructure, and the transition towards a greener, cleaner world. So it is absolutely fundamental, public debt, to the performance and sustainability of economies. Although wealthy countries have more debt, it is poor countries that pay the most for their debt. So whereas the United States or Germany were looking at less than 3% interest rates on their debt, in places like Africa, we're talking 10%, in some countries even more, is the average interest rate that governments have to pay on money that they borrow. And why does that matter? Well, it means that in some countries, in some regions, governments pay more in interest to service their debt every year than they pay on healthcare or on education. For instance, in sub-Saharan Africa, they pay about 70 billion a year in interest payments, but only 39 billion a year in health. Which means that if debt markets are not serving their economies well, then the interest paid on sovereign debt can crowd out other public investments around infrastructure, healthcare, or education. So it matters to the ability of nations to invest in themselves, in their people, and their futures. Now, credit ratings are a measure of the riskiness of this debt. Right? If you might be buying a bond, lending to a government, you want to know what is the ability and willingness of that government to service its debt. Now, safer borrowers, just like individuals, safer countries, safer borrowing countries, enjoy a lower interest rate, whereas riskier economies, just like riskier people, suffer higher interest rates when they want to borrow. The credit rating is there to try and tell lenders about that level of risk, and that lets lenders decide how much to lend and at what interest rate, what price should they lend their money to governments. Now, getting the credit ratings wrong means that risk is not properly identified or priced in the market. And when we get credit ratings wrong, the economic consequences can be globally catastrophic, as we saw in the 2007 to 2009 financial crisis. In that period, we saw the S&P index fall 57%. We saw in just a matter of a year, $16 trillion of household wealth wiped out in just one economy, the United States. Youth unemployment spiked. Young people couldn't leave home. They couldn't buy their own home because the credit markets tightened up and nobody was lending for mortgages. I myself graduated from my undergraduate degree in economics in 2009. That was a terrible time for me to be trying to hit the job market as an economist. And the fact that the job market was so poor was one of the reasons that I pursued further education, because there simply weren't good job prospects. So when we get credit ratings wrong, the consequences can be global, they can be catastrophic, and they can be personal. They can affect people like you and me. So now the question is, are the credit ratings agencies and the ratings that they issue to tell us about the riskiness of sovereign debt making the same mistake again? I think they are. And that is what this research that we've done at the University of Sussex has shown. And here's why they're making the same mistake. It's because they are ignoring the role that climate change might play in macroeconomic outcomes. Climate change is a major, global, systemic financial risk, but it is not factored in to the credit rating models used by the big three credit ratings agencies. If you understand climate risk and climate economics, you understand that the storms, the floods, the heat waves, the deep freezes, all of the fires and the mudslides, they interrupt economic activity. They reduce labor productivity. They mean that goods and products can't be shipped. They destroy the crops so we can't trade and export them. These have real economic consequences. The storms destroy infrastructure that takes years for countries to rebuild. All of those risks are ignored by credit ratings. And the consequences of this failure to incorporate global climate risk into sovereign credit ratings could be catastrophic. So what we did was fix it. We decided, well, why don't we take the climate models and what we know about macroeconomic risk and climate change and feed that in to the sovereign credit rating. So just as a quick recap on the economics of climate change, environmental destruction reduces economic performance, right? Our factories, our ports, our transport infrastructure is less productive. They can't operate in the middle of a hurricane or if the train lines are wiped out by a flood or a landslide. People are less productive if it's way too hot and our offices aren't adapted to it. I'm sure some of you have found that on a hot summer's day in the afternoon, you're more tired, you're less productive, you kind of need to take a nap. Well, that happens to everybody in the economy and it reduces output. And when you aggregate that up across 8 billion people, it has a real economic consequence. So climate change creates risks that reduce economic performance. That lowers GDP, the size of the economy. And if it reduces GDP, then there's less money for the government to tax, and they receive less tax revenue. If the government receives less income, then it is harder for the government to pay back and service its debt. That's the channel that we're trying to explain here. Now, the way that most people, most economists, would try and identify this relationship between climate change creating a risk, creating a change in the credit rating, is that we would look back over the past 20 years of data and see how the climate has fluctuated and how credit ratings have fluctuated or how debt markets have fluctuated. The problem is that what climate science tells us is that the future will not be like the past. So using past relationships between temperature and sovereign debt markets is a bad predictor of the future, because the climate change that's going to have the biggest economic impacts hasn't been seen yet. So we can't look back to see how we respond to storms that have never arrived, to extremes of temperature and of climate that have never been experienced. So what we need instead of a backwards-looking risk measure that can only tell me after the fact, well, heavens, that was risky, that's no good. We need a forward-looking risk measure that can help me allocate capital efficiently, productively, and profitably today. So the difference here between a backwards-looking risk measure and a forward-looking projection is like the difference between getting a doctor to give you a diagnosis beforehand versus waiting for the autopsy report afterwards. We need climate-driven financial risk measures to be more like a diagnosis that we can respond to and treat, and less like an autopsy report for which there's really no coming back. So our goal was to try to bridge the gap between two communities, climate scientists and sovereign credit ratings, the markets, financial markets. Now, if there are two groups who should be able to speak the same language of risk, it is climate scientists and financial markets. Both live and die by their ability to estimate, identify, and manage risk. That's what they do. But unfortunately, these communities don't really speak together. And so we wanted to join them up. And the way we did this was by developing a little bit of AI to kind of hack S&P's sovereign credit rating method. And we did that, and then we feed it forward-looking projections of what the climate and economy might do under different climate change scenarios. It's a pretty simple model. We set ourselves 3 rules of engagement. First, we wanted to remain as close as possible to the underlying natural science. Second, we weren't going to break the rules of econometrics in order to overfit or get better predictive accuracy. We needed to use the best available climate economics. And third, and this is crucial, this is why the work we do at the University of Sussex has so much influence. The third rule of engagement for us was that our ratings, our method, needed to be as close as possible to the way that S&P, the credit ratings agency, actually compiles their ratings. And the reason we wanted to stay as close as possible to their method was so that the rest of the world, the end users, governments, central banks, credit ratings agencies, investors, could all use our results and understand how to interpret them. So what's in our model? Well, we've got 6 different variables that are all part of the credit ratings model used by S&P. GDP growth rate, GDP per capita, and then various different styles, various different flavors of debt to GDP ratios. Okay? Sometimes it's current account balance, net general government debt, but various different macroeconomic performance variables. And before we even start integrating climate risk, let's just take a look at how accurate our model is. Right? So one of the things we wanted to see is, can we use some of our data in order to predict the rest of our data? That's called an out-of-sample predictive test. And what you see here is that dark green is perfect accuracy. Our model predicts the current rating perfectly. And as we get lighter and lighter, we have a bit of discrepancy between our prediction and what the actual credit rating is. So what you can see is that we have good predictive accuracy all around the world. Hot countries, poor countries. Rich countries, poor countries. Hot, cold, east, west, north, south. We've got pretty good predictive accuracy. Now we adjust these for climate change and for biodiversity loss. So we look at how a destruction of ecosystems or how an increase in carbon emissions would affect the economic output of these economies and how that then affects the sovereign credit rating and the cost of borrowing. And we do this with a whole load of climate science, biodiversity science, World Bank models of ecology and economy outputs. And we get a global model that can predict sovereign ratings for 109 different economies every year from now to 2100. And let's take a look at what those results are. If we meet the Paris Climate Change Agreement and we limit global warming to less than 2 degrees over and above pre-industrial temperatures, then we see that we still face some significant downgrades in countries like India and China. But for most of the world, the downgrades are fairly minor. We're talking only a couple of notches, say from AAA to AA. Now, here's what the map looks like under a much higher emissions scenario, where we see about 4.5 degrees of warming by the end of the century. What we see is that most of the world's population, India, China, United States, right? Most of the world's GDP, Europe, Asia, North America, and most of the world's ecosystems, critical ecosystems, actually face significant downgrades. This puts India, China, Mexico outside of the investable range. It means they are junk bonds. It would affect these countries' ability to borrow money, to invest in infrastructure, to invest in urbanization and sustainability. And it would increase the riskiness of their debt. And if they become riskier borrowers, then markets are going to charge a higher interest premium, a higher risk premium. And if we look at that across the sample, we'd look that just the additional interest premium, just for the additional climate-driven risk, could sum to about $200 billion per year. That's a huge amount when what we're looking for in order to reduce the decline in biodiversity loss is only about 100 billion a year under the global framework on biodiversity. Now, let's look at the biodiversity adjusted ratings. And what I want to show you here is impacts. This is the GDP impact estimated by the World Bank of a decline in ecosystem services, a destruction of forests, fisheries, and agriculture that are all important economic sectors around the world. And I want you to see the GDP impacts for China, India, and Malaysia here. They're in sort of the middle of the pack. But when we look at their impacts on credit ratings, China, India, and Malaysia are the most severely affected, which means that the consequence for investment, for borrowing to invest in public services, is much worse for some economies than just the direct impacts on GDP. And investment is the way that countries deliver growth over the long term. So who cares about this work? Well, we've been working really closely with businesses and government from our base at the University of Sussex. We were cited by the Biden-Harris administration in the 2023 Economic Report of the President. We've been working with the World Bank, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank. We've been working with Standard & Chartered. We've been working with major financial houses and organizations. And there are multiple central banks around the world that are using our results in order to do their climate stress testing and identify potential risks in their bond portfolios. And it's not just business and government that we work with the public press as well, with the media. This work has been cited in over 50 countries, more than 350 times all around the world. We are leading the global conversation on sustainability and accounting and finance. So if you come to the University of Sussex to study for your postgraduate degree, you will be at the heart of academic teaching and research that shapes the future of financial markets. You will learn and gain the skills to design and deliver a sustainable 21st century. And you will gain experience working with financial institutions, working with academics who shape government policy all around the world. So I think that's my time. That's my talk. And I will hand over to my brilliant colleague, Ming-Tsung. Ming, over to you.
Thank you very much, Matthew, for such an inspiring talk. Basically, I'm an asset pricing person, and I do have a lot of research on credit risk, but I still learn something from your presentation. Thank you very much. All right. So let me share my screen. So my part here is in the following is I want to talk about the programs we provided by our department, Accounting and Finance department. So let me quickly prepare my slides here. Can you let me, Ben, can you let me know if you can see my shared screen?
Yes, all good.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye. So good. So now I'm start to talk about the programs offered by my department, accounting and finance. So good morning again. So let me reintroduce myself. My name is Ming-Tsung. Currently, I'm an associate professor in finance in the Department of Accounting and Finance. So in the following, I'm going to spend roughly 20 minutes to quickly talk about the master programs offered by our department. Before I go into the master programs I have in here. I want to quickly to introduce my department here. So basically so for the business school and the Department of Accounting and Finance, we are a young school. I think we in the formal business school is formed in roughly 2018. Although before we are a business school, there is already some departments existing, but later because the departments grows larger and larger, then we decide to have the business school in the University of Sussex. Although we are very young, but we are a very dynamic department, and we have a strong industry links. Many of our staff, they have a strong connection to the industry. For example, our Professor Kara, etc. She just had the talk about the cryptocurrency, I think 2 weeks ago in Bloomberg. So we do have quite a strong connection. And in terms of our department, our programs, we have other partners, including the CSFA, GOB, or Global Association of Research Professionals. And we do have quite a lot of certificates from the CIMA, CC, and the ACCA. So our department is very strong. So when you join the master programs in our department, you will have a great future employability opportunities. Wait a second here. Let me jump to the slides. All right. So this is just an extra slide here to just let you know we do have a very strong research culture, and we in our academic have a lot of links to the industry. So for you, why you want to come to study an accounting and finance degree? So what's the benefit of it? So basically, from our department, an accounting and banking or finance degree at Sussex is a right choice to you if you want to work in the City of London. University of Sussex is based on Brighton and is very near to London. So I think everybody knows here, London has a very strong financial, it's a very, the largest or second largest finance city. So you can have a very good opportunity to find a finance job over there. And to be honest with you, I mean, for some of the Londoners, they don't even want to live in London. They will choose to live in Brighton because Brighton is a very good and it's a very friendly environmental here, and is better to live here. Yeah. And of course, in terms of the location, we are very near the City of London, so you got a very good chance to get a finance job there. And for our department, we have the multinational banking and financial backgrounds there to support you to get the employabilities you want there. And also, when you when you take the accounting and finance degrees with you, you have a robust and solid understanding in the investment banking and corporate finance, etc. So those knowledges you will use to develop your future career. So in the following, I'm going to give you some idea about the master programs we offer here. In general, we have 5 master programs there. For each of the program, they are based on the finance, of course, but we will add some extra bits to these programs to make these programs are also distinguished from each other. So the first one is the MSc Accounting and Finance. So basic for this program, it's more conventional and traditional accounting and finance program. So from this program, it will prepare you to build a solid knowledge in terms of the accounting and the finance knowledge there. So for the core modules, it will take both accounting and finance modules in it. Roughly, it will be like 50-50 there, including corporate finance, institutions in global financial markets, and you will also get the accounting theories, investments, and for the optional modules, they include accountability and ethics. For this one is pretty popular in the recent years because when we're talking about the sustainability and accountabilities in accounting reports, then this program will cover it. So this is the first programs we offer. For the second master program is the MSc Banking and Finance. So for this one, we will combine. So we will take less accounting part there. Instead, we will give you more about the banking management and knowledge there. So the core modules includes the bank financial management. Of course, it will also take the corporate finance for those conventional or traditional finance modules. But in this module, if you are looking for, if your future career development want to go more the banking side there, and these MSc Banking and Finance is suitable for you. The third program is the MSc FinTech Risk and Investment Analysis. So for this program, it's slightly different from the previous two programs because the previous two programs is more finance oriented. For this one, it's still very finance program here, but we focus more on the investment part, particularly fintech subject there. For many people, if they are interested in fintech knowledge, then this program, fintech risk and investment analysis, is suitable for you. For this one will be more related to cryptocurrency. If you are interested in cryptocurrency or financial markets, financial derivatives, or even though if you after graduation, if you want to go for the trading or investment side, then this program is suitable for you. So here, just quickly to let you know what's the core modules for this program. So, for example, the blockchains and crypto assets, programming for finance, financial derivatives, they are the, or even though for the machine learning, for example, machine learning, this program also offer the related subject to you. The fourth module we offer is the MSc Management and Finance. So this one is more suitable for some people if they don't want too much finance. Instead, they want to have the combination of management and finance, and then this one will be suitable for those who want to combine both subject knowledge and management skills. So this one, for example, the core module for this program will, for example, will be like a personal and professional development for management and finance, and they will have also the accounting for decision makers in management and finance. So in general, for this program is less quantitative oriented, but it will focus more on the application and practicability, how to make use of financial and accounting decisions in management side. The final program we offer from our Department of Accounting is the MSc Sustainable Finance and Accounting. For this program, it will expand your skills in terms of the environmental accounting, corporate governance, and climate green finance. So basic for this one, we in addition to the accounting finance subjects there, they will also give you more idea about how to incorporate the sustainability in terms of the finance and accounting here. Just a small note here is for this program, we also provide a professional placement year to this program. So basically, I have finished the MS master programs provided by our department. So here I'll just quickly to talk about the entry requirement here, just to let me know. So basically, we do have the some entry requirement here in terms of the English language requirement. If you are not a native speaker, or if you haven't got if you haven't studied in an English programs before. And we do have some degree requirements and some subject specific requirements here. However, what I want to say here is, although you can check these entry requirement on the website, if you think what I want to say here is, even though you at the moment you haven't met those requirements, we still encourage you to apply, because if you are studying under those requirements, you can still don't worry too much about it, because we will also review other conditions. For example, if you have done in the relevant working experience there, then we will also consider it. So sometimes I do feel in terms of the entry requirement, if we compare to other peer universities, our requirement sometimes is still higher than them. However, we still want you to apply for it, because we will consider other conditions to combine to see whether there's a combination for the underqualification. So these slides here is just to let you know, in terms of the fees and scholarship there, because for many applicants, they are interested whether the university provides the scholarship here. Here I just list some of the scholarship here. For example, for the Business School International Award, basically for all the full-time international students. If you are in the international students, then you are eligible to apply for a 2000 awards. And if you are an online, or you are our current existing students, you can also apply a couple of a scholarship here. Given the interest of time, I probably don't don't detail those scholarships and fees one by one. Instead, I would like you to use the link provided at the bottom of the slides here, because from there you can get the most detailed scholarship information there, and see whether you are eligible or not. So I think I have finished all the talk about the introduction to those master programs. Finally, I just want to quickly to talk about why study at the business school. So I think these slides is similar to what Matthew has presented. So as a business school staff, we are very proud that we have a very good reputation in terms of the research and the connection to the industry, including we have in terms of the research income, we are the first in the UK for quite many of the years, and we in terms of some subject researches there, we are the top for many years. So this one, just to quickly show you, we do have a very good academic reputation and the connection to the industry. And this slide is just to let you know, for the business school, the business school is an accredited body. So we are a member of the ACQUIS, MBA, CABS, and Prime accreditation here. And so the university will maintain the highest standard in terms of the teaching and the research, and provide the best knowledge and opportunity for you to explore your capability. So this slide here is just to, so this one is my final slides. Yeah. So how we support your employability. Once you join us, then we will have the career and entrepreneurship team that will closely provide you the specialist support throughout the study and up to 3 years after graduation. So once you join us, then we will continue to help you to develop your future career, and we do look forward to sorry, let me rephrase it. So we do look for your succeed in turn, not only now but also in the future. So thank you very much for my presentation, and I hope if you have any question, feel free to put your questions in the chat box. Then later, if we can answer, then we will answer your question. If we cannot, then we will take the time to reply you. Thank you.
Thank you both for your presentations. Very, very interesting. If anyone has any questions, do type them in now. You can use the chat box or the Q&A. We do have one question actually has come in from an anonymous attendee. It's around the placement year. So what will you provide with the placement year, and how can they find out more information around placement years at the University of Sussex? I guess that's for the sustainable accounting degree with the placement, is that right?
So the placement will you provide with placement year? So basic for the let me read the question again. So basically, for the placement year, it's only available for the sustainability of accounting and finance. So once you, so when you apply, you still need to let us know when you apply for this program, you also want a placement year. Then basically we will arrange after you finish the subject study, then you will have the additional placement year. So this is the basic structure of the program. Yeah. Okay.
Question there. Do let us know, whoever the anonymous attendee who asked that question, if you want us to go into any more detail on that. Otherwise, yeah, please do type any questions in. There can be a little bit of a delay while we're waiting for questions to come in while people are typing them. So we are going to just hang on for a little while to see if there are any more questions. I've put my email address in the chat box, as well as some useful information, some links, the scholarship link that was mentioned in the presentation as well. So you can click on there and have a look at the eligibility requirements for all of our scholarships. And again, if you've got any questions around those scholarships, you can always email me. My email address is in the chat box there. Just to let you know as well, some of you may have joined after the introductions at the beginning, but we have recorded the session and you'll get the recording tomorrow. That'll be sent via Zoom. If for any reason you don't receive that, you can always email me with that email address that's in the chat box.
If I could just, while we're waiting to see if any questions come in, perhaps I could just tell a bit of a story about one of the things I'm doing with one of my grad students at the moment. So beyond my university role, I also have an economics consulting firm that I'm the founding director of. And one of the things that I get to do there is work with governments and with banks and businesses all around the world on issues of sustainability, accounting, finance, macroeconomics. And at the moment, I've got a project with KPMG across 12 different island economies. And I'm bringing in some of my grad students who are working on that project as part of their master's thesis. So their research thesis is now coming into a real world live project with one of the big four management consulting firms. And they get to work on live projects. And I'm going next week to Barbados to present the preliminary findings with members from the Prime Minister's office, from the central bank. And so it's really high profile opportunities. And these are the sorts of things that can happen at the business school, right? Because a lot of the academics are working on projects with governments and with businesses, and we bring in our grad students as part of that. So even if you don't do the placement year, you might still have a chance to work on something really applied with a great potential employer through your research thesis.
I think if no audience wants to ask you about the test lecture question, could I ask one? Yeah,
Certainly.
because I think for some of the people because I know in the previous presentation you talk about the ratings for the climate change, the sovereign ratings, right? I think for some of the people they may ask, they have the conception that the credit rating will be more like the past information instead of the forward looking. But I can see you have included the forward looking side of it. Um, my question here is, have you tested whether they can forward look? I mean, the ratings itself is providing a forward looking information, or it reflects the past, for example, carbon emissions,
Yeah.
etc.
So we've worked really hard. In fact, one of the co-authors on that piece of research was Dr. Moritz Kramer, who was the chief sovereign rating officer and head of global sovereign ratings at S&P Global for many, many years. In fact, he wrote the ratings method that the company still uses today to produce their credit ratings. And what we find is that the data that they use to construct their rating is almost always historical data,
Mm-hmm.
but they run projections going forward maybe 3 years or 5 years.
Oh, I see.
And they say that the rating has a lifespan. The rating should be usable for maybe 5 to 10 years, uh, which is okay, except for the fact that we have bonds now that are issued for 20 years, 50 years. We even have century bonds, a bond that's to be paid back over 100 years. And so a projection of only 3 years into the future is not a very good indicator of the risk of a bond over a century. So one of the things that we do, like you say, Ming-Tsung, is build in forward-looking projections of the climate risk. It's really important because if I'm making an investment today, it's important for me to know what's happened in the recent past, but mostly I'm interested in the future
Yeah,
returns.
yeah.
All capital, by definition, is a claim on the future. We're interested in the future returns to the capital, right? What's the return I'm going to get next year and the year after? And so what we're doing with the credit ratings work is demonstrating that we can actually build in the forward-looking scientific projections into real-world financial metrics. And the uptake by the White House, by central banks, by
Mm-hmm.
governments is all proof that the world is hungry for the kind of work that we're doing.
Mhm.
Okay, there's no questions have come in, so I'm guessing that everyone has kind of got the information that they wanted from this. But if people do have questions, you can always email me, Great. Oh, apologies, there is a question actually. Just come in from Obina. It always comes in when I say there's no more questions. Obina said, enjoyed your talk. Obina's a second-year PhD candidate at Africa Business School. PhD thesis is on climate change. They're interested in coming as a visiting PhD scholar to the University of Sussex. Is it possible for me to apply? We do have a process for that, an application process. So you're welcome to email me on that email address, and I can give you all the details of how to apply as a visiting PhD scholar. So I'm happy to send you some information if you want to send me an email, Obina, to b.j.osborne@sussex.ac.uk. I don't know if anyone on the panel has anything to add around visiting scholars, but if not, I can always deal with that via email.
I will bow to your expertise on the visiting scholar and how that process works. But Obina, thank you very much for your question. In fact, my co-author, Professor Patty Klusak, who is a visiting professor with us at the Bennett Institute in Sussex, was just last week in Cape Town at the first ever African Union African Credit Ratings conference. She was speaking there, and if you look up Patty Klusak, or you look up the Bennett Institute on LinkedIn, you will find some of her news clips and media clips from that experience. So yes, we are absolutely working on these topics.
Okay, well, I think we'll end it there. Thank you so much to our panel for a really interesting presentation. And thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Ming-Tsung. Thank you, everyone, for attending and for your questions. And as I said, you'll get the recording. So if you have any questions after that, feel free to get in touch with me, and I can always put you in touch with our panel directly if you require that, or if it's any general questions about master's, PhD study at the University of Sussex, I can answer that myself. But thank you so much to everyone for coming today. Hopefully we'll see some of you on campus next year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.